For today's featured ship, we're going to go to Western Australia. This state operated a shipping service that would take care of the needs of the various remote communities, and particularly the mining settlements that were blossoming into towns and cities along the northern tip of this vast state. The company, unimaginatively, was called the State Shipping Service. It was started with a small vessel originally named the Darius. This vessel became the Koolama, and interestingly enough, is actually one of the few shipwrecks that you can actually walk on. More information about this fascinating ship coming later on. The State Shipping Service was a success, and to cater not just for cargo but for passengers, the company introduced the very reliable Koolama, which you can see up here. And then in 1938, a more up-to-date, more streamlined, and one could say more curvaceous version of this ship entered service. This would be the new flagship of the State Shipping Service. This was the ship we'll be talking about today, which is the Koolama. Maybe because I was exposed to this ship at a very impressionable age, but I've always had a soft spot for this vessel. It looks every bit what a modern motorliner of the 1930s would be. This ship entered service on the 23rd of May 1938, and the Koolama's vital statistics were as follows. Built by what seems to be everyone's favourite shipyard, Harland and Wolff, although the Koolama was built in their Govan site, not in Belfast. The Koolama weighed 4,068 gross tons, was 348 feet long, which is a length of about 106 meters, had a beam of 52 feet, which equates to about 15 meters, and was powered by two Burmeister and Wayne diesel engines, which drove two propellers. This ship was the flagship of the State Shipping Service and brought a touch of modernism and luxury to the many remote communities along the West Australian coast, particularly those in the far north. Unfortunately, what should have been a long, prosperous career was cut short by the outbreak of the Second World War. Initially, the ship remained on its run. Things changed even more when Japan entered the conflict, and at the beginning of 1942 the ship was repainted into this drab grey scheme and did a few trooping voyages. However, on the 20th of February 1942 it was still operating its normal run, servicing the communities. It had passengers and crew as well as troops on board. And at 11:30 that morning, 3 Mavis flying boats attacked the Koolama. And as you've seen from that not very good animation, sometimes the software works, sometimes it doesn't. I tried. But you get an idea of the equipment involved and what the effect was. The Koolama was severely damaged by 3 hits. And so the captain decided to take his severely wounded vessel into a nearby bay and beach it, so that at least they could then figure out what to do afterwards. Now, depending on who you believe and what you read, what happened afterwards may have constituted a mutiny. The first officer did disagree with the captain. Some believe that it was an outright mutiny, others believe it was just simply a heated disagreement of opinion. Some, the captain, wanted to salvage the ship and continue on. Others wanted to abandon the ship and take all the passengers and crew and march off to safety. A Benedictine mission was able to send a lugger, which is a small sailing ship, out to the bay to rescue the injured people as well as the women and children. Now, Australia is a large continent. West Australia is, massive. And when we say relatively nearby, it took 24 hours for the lugger to reach the ship and get back. And if you were to walk that distance, it would have taken a week. And that is what the other passengers and crew had to do. The lugger couldn't take everyone. So the remaining men, with the Benedictine missionaries and indigenous people to assist them, were guided back to the mission. And from there, they're sent back down south. The captain and 25 others of the crew stayed with the Koolama, were able to patch up some of the damage, and miraculously were able to back the ship off the sandbank and slowly but steadily get the ship to the safety of the port of Wyndham. Safety, unfortunately, was a relative term. No sooner had the ship docked, an air raid alarm was sounded, everyone got off the ship and took shelter. But by the time the all clear was sounded, when the crew ran back to check on their ship, this is the sight that awaited them. The Koolama's wounds had reopened, water had flooded back in, as you can see from this image, which I have taken from an actual photograph of the day. The Koolama was just too badly damaged and it rolled over and sank. It remained there until well past the war. There are photos showing people actually standing on the hull of the ship, and basically the water is only up to their knees. To clear the docks, the wreck was salvaged, but the days of the Koolama as a functioning ship were well and truly over. The wreck was simply moved to an area that was outside of the shipping lanes and was sunk again. A recent survey showed that the ship's hull is still in very good condition and its shape is still maintained. It would be interesting to see more photos and just a more detailed report of the ship's physical condition. But the wreck remains, the wreck is still there, and the Koolama won't be going anywhere anytime soon. All that is left are memories, the odd artifact. A beautiful model of the Koolama is in the Maritime Museum in Fremantle. And for more information regarding the controversy, the attack, the rescue of the passengers and crew, and what may or may not have transpired between the captain and his officers, I do recommend this book, The Koolama Incident by Bill Lone, which dives into this aspect into far greater detail and allows you to then determine what may or may not have happened. So do check out this book should the story of the Koolama be more interest to you. I will bring more stories of lesser known ships, and if there are any other vessels that you are interested in or wish to learn more about, let me know. I love digging into these lesser known vessels. So until then, enjoy and keep reading.